much as we do here on the channel, definitely takes its toll physically and mentally. And I'm always motivating to try to get you guys to not only get your shit off the jack stands, but to get out and fix your fox body. As you can see here, we got an absolute mess. This is actually the turbo kits from the black and the white car, as you have seen it here on the channel. But recently, we have done a complete engine swap where we put the old turbo kit in that we had done years ago, custom stainless. But anytime you do a complete engine swap or a turbo swap or whatever, there's definitely a lot of nut and bolt checks that need to be done. So this past weekend, we raced at NMRA for the first time in several years. And with this new combo on Shakedown, which I've showed you guys here in the channel, there was definitely some things that needed to be done to make our combo more efficient. There's some things today I'm gonna go over with you here in the car, post NMRA, where we had a 30-mile cruise, 3 back-to-back passes on a dot tire in the back. Plus we ran in a shootout, which we were taken out in the second round by Mike Niehaus.
Good race, buddy. Hell yes.
Big shout out to my man Mike Niehaus. Super fast 86 hatch. And then Dan Watts ended up taking the win, so big shout out to him as well. But today we're going to talk about a couple things getting it ready for this weekend, as we're always racing as often as possible. Here in Ohio, we don't really get an opportunity to race year round, so we got to make the most of it. With the new combo here in the white Turbo Fox, we noticed that our passenger side header started leaking quite a bit. When we were doing a fitment thing, when it was on the engine stand over here, when we were swapping stuff over from the 408, we seen that the header didn't line up real well, so I don't know. We're gonna go ahead and get this taken off, take it over to Dave over at the machine shop, and we're gonna get it planed out to make sure that it's flat and clean. One of the things that I pride myself on here on the channel and here in the shop is keeping our cars always race ready for the most part. So nut and bolt checking every week, not only for my safety, but for the performance side of it is very important. Recently, we have added a couple of the safety features like the on-off switch. And we've also updated our battery box because wires were kind of all over the place, but now they're nice and secured and they're covered up, so they're not going to be an issue. And then you can see that we actually put a parachute on our car because we go 150 plus, and that's required when you start doing that. So this is a kind of a unique parachute setup. This is a MAF racing parachute launcher. So we'll be doing a video on that and show you how it functions and how well it works. But this is definitely a game changer for people that are getting ready to put a parachute on their car. So if you guys are interested in checking out that parachute launcher, here's Tim at MAF Racing. It's about $500 if I'm not mistaken. And if you mention you've seen it here, he'll give you free shipping. Maybe even a discount, I don't know. But some of these upgrades needed to be done. We do got a couple panels that we got to get put back in, as I'm pretty big on keeping my interior as full as possible. So I'm going to do a rear seat delete eventually one day in this car. But one of the biggest issues we had with the Turbo Fox is it had oil leaks on the oil pan. We're going to go ahead and take the engine diaper down and check it out underneath of it, and to make sure that it's good to go, and nut and bolt check the underneath of the car, because I mean we did send it pretty good this past weekend. So we'll get the car up and we'll stop talking and get to work. Lastly, we got to switch the car over from a dot tire to a slick that we got sitting over there in the corner, and start setting up our weight transfer and setting up our shock settings for this weekend, as we are racing from NMRA prep to the absolute back half of a track where it's going to be like 50 degrees out. So two complete ends of the spectrums, as I like to have my car ready, and I like to have my car able to race on multiple platforms. That's kind of important to me. But nonetheless, let's get the car up. I'll show you the engine diaper that we had put on, and we'll take it off and see if we maybe have an issue still. And then we'll go ahead and get this header off, which is actually going to be relatively easy compared to the old kits that we ran. It's just the clamp and the 8 bolts, and I can just pull it right out of the engine bay. Whereas before, taking the passenger header off on an On3 kit or a B&G kit, that would have been a pain in the ass. Now, I know that this isn't exactly the best setup here. I think I'm getting oil like getting on the header here, and if you actually touch this plug boot, it's wet versus this one's dry. I need to get it mounted, but we were in a time crunch and I just wanted to keep it away from the heat. I think it's blowing oil out, and that's just the way it is right now. So this is kind of a nut and bolt check issue that we actually have. I think there's like a little O-ring here that needs to be, I don't know, cleaned up or whatever. So I'm definitely gonna have to address that. So just like we had thought, pretty sure that this dipstick just needs to be replaced. You know, we did put some right stuff on thinking that the dipstick was gonna be okay. I think there might be a hole in it from where it got burned before up here. Definitely something I need to order today and get it in and put like just a universal dipstick in here and figure it out, because it's getting everything wet. Maybe that'll fix our problem. But this is what's important about safety and nut bolt checks. We knew we had an issue with this last week before we went to NMRA. And you can see how much it's gotten on my headers. You know, I don't want to be puffing white smoke and make it look like I'm getting ready to catch on fire. Also, another thing we want to do that we didn't have enough time for is we want to hang a hanger here. And this is all like a 3.5 inch aluminum, so it's not very heavy. We have to check our clamps to make sure that we're not, like, look at this stuff. See this right here? That's not gonna fly. That could cause an issue. And look here, see all this? This is stuff I didn't even plan for. So this is stuff that you gotta check to make sure that when you're changing combos, or even just looking your car over, you know, over time stuff would burn, and then it would like ground itself off and probably even ruin the computer and the chip and whatever, cause all kind of shit. So another problem that we had is we have a brace bracket for our turbo, and it actually ended up breaking from the weld. It's gonna have to get back in there and tack weld that little area here and up top. Again, you know, I knew would have had to go over the car quite a bit. And this is some of the stuff when you're racing or even hard driving it, whether you're doing circle track racing, you're doing drifting. It's just, you know, stuff that can happen over time and cause an issue, and even possibly be a safety problem. I think we need to put a little bit of an adjustment in our clutch as well. It looks like we're getting a little bit of oil condensation coming out of the breather hole here on our seal, so we got to keep an eye on that. A little bit from the base, which that's pretty normal. We're basically here just to check, make sure our, you know, our U-joints look good, our clips look good. I'm not gonna have any issue this weekend. Nut bolt checks are very important. Guys, I bring you these type of videos to the channel because it's just as important on your stock car that you drive often, like daily drive or drive to a show or whatever. It could sit and something could happen. You change something, something else could happen. The headers right here, I was showing you about the wiring. Like, I had no idea that wiring was gonna be in the way, but it was sitting on the downpipe, which is not a good idea. And those type of things could be safety hazards for your car. I'm always teaching on the channel to be as safe as possible. And sometimes we get in a hurry and we have to go back through and take a double check to make sure that we're doing okay. But running on these surfaces definitely has had their toll on our car. There's probably 10 pounds of just rub. We ended up going with the Moroso Universal dipstick. We're gonna have to get that thing switched out because it's definitely shooting some oil on our header. So like I had mentioned earlier in the video, our passenger side header had been leaking quite a bit, so we took the V-band off and we're gonna take it over to the dyno shop. He has a machine that lets me, you know, get the flange straight. So we almost got the header off, got one more bolt here to be able to see, you know, how much it's been leaking. It usually leaves like a carbon area when it was leaking. So that'll give us a little idea of what we're looking at. Yeah, as you can see, just like I thought, definitely it was leaking from all three of them. This flange wasn't flat. It shouldn't be too bad of a problem. All right, guys, it's pretty much all I got for you for this video. We went through a nut and bolt check. We actually found a number of things, like the dipstick idea that it was already leaking and had maybe a hole in it. It did sit on one of my headers once. When it was in the black car, I noticed it burned it a little bit, so there's probably a little bit of a pinhole there. That's probably why it's leaking all over the side of the oil pan. But we rectified that. You see that earlier in the video. Nut and bolt checks like this will keep you from burning your car down and having safety issues and keeping you out of races and keeping up to date with it. The header leak was driving me nuts. I mean, when those headers get hot, it would tick, 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 and you can see how warped that flange is. So we're gonna go rectify that real quick. We can drop it off at the machine shop and have them clean it up. But outside that, you know, we got, you know, we're always checking brakes. We're always checking our car. You know, we're not very nice to the clutch, so we're always checking the clutch and we're always checking the transmission. You know, nut and bolt checks, man. I mean, even in a factory Fox body, specifically one that maybe you just bought, maybe it's a project car, things like this are gonna shift. You know, things are gonna shift in there. Things are gonna, you know, it doesn't matter what car it is. Something could catch fire if it's, you know, not attended to, like, you know, dealing with brake lines and fuel lines and just bushings. I mean, there's just so many things that could get you caught up with these cars. It's just always nice to stay in. Not a super fancy video today, just showing you some maintenance on our Fox body Mustang after the NMRA race. And I encourage you guys with the Fox bodies, especially if you just bought it, put it up on a lift, put it up on jack stands, take a quick peek at some of the stuff that we went through today. I'm always checking. We're always nut and bolt checking everything. Our next video will probably be us tearing into the 408 stroker as we're gonna see what really happened to it. You guys enjoy this sort of video, enjoy the white car, what we've done to it recently. Leave me a comment below, let me think. Check out that join button below. Memberships get exclusive content to the channel. Outside of that, appreciate everybody for watching. See you soon in the next video.